The second part begins after 1 year from the airplane accident. We know from the news that Alex died in a strange accident and nobody left except Clear, and the one who was watching the news is Kim, who was getting ready herself because she was going out with her friends on a vacation trip. Kim packs her things and gathers her friends, and their journey begins. Kim is the one driving, and on the way she stops at a traffic light. A strange old woman knocks on the car window, startling Kim, but then she drives off normally. Kim's friends keep teasing her because she got scared. Then she turns on the radio, and all the channels are news bulletins talking about the 1 year anniversary of Flight AT. Flight 180 is the name of the plane trip from the previous part. She's a bit surprised but says it's normal, nothing unusual, and continues her journey. The road is very crowded, with a police car, a motorcycle, and many other cars. But at the front of all these vehicles is the ominous trailer loaded with wood, and the police car is behind it. At one moment the wood ties break and disaster begins. The logs fly off and crash directly into the police cars, hitting the officer. Then the cars start flipping over and the speeding trucks smash into them, wiping them off the face of the earth. Kim and her friend's car is in the middle of this chaos, flipping over 5 times, but they remain alive. Before they can think of getting out, a trailer comes out of the explosions like it's coming from hell, crashes into them, and Kim wakes up from this nightmare, which turns out to be just a dream or a vision that hasn't happened yet. She wakes up from the terrifying dream while still at the traffic light. Of course she's terrified and can't comprehend what happened, but she immediately starts to believe it when the old lady knocks on her car window and the radio plays the same news bulletin. So she decides to warn everyone behind her about the impending accident. She drives her car to block the road. People get angry, start honking, and want to move. The officer gets out of his car and goes to talk to Kim, who tells him that a disaster is about to happen and that everyone will die. Then the wood trailer passes by and she asks the officer to stop it, saying it's the cause of everything. Of course the officer doesn't believe her and the disaster happens. The accident starts right in front of them. Kim was standing outside the car and her friends were still inside. Suddenly the officer runs to Kim and pulls her away from the car to save her from the truck coming from behind, which crashes into the car and kills all her friends. Kim breaks down because her friends died, but she was the reason many people were saved. At the officer's office, the survivors are gathered, and Kim tells them that what happened to her is the same as what happened in Flight 18. Eugene says, "So does that mean death is after us and we'll die one after the other?" He mocks her, saying death won't chase us. Stop being silly. They all leave to get on with their lives. Even Kim's father comes and leaves. One of the survivors, named Evan, goes home after buying a new computer. He enters his messy house, and since he's hungry, he grabs a pan with some leftover pasta and throws it in the street. Then he starts preparing food and puts on the ring and watch he just bought. But the ring falls into the sink, so he reaches in to get it, but his hand gets stuck. The pan catches fire and the flames start to spread throughout the house. Finally, he frees his hand, grabs the fire extinguisher and tries to put out the fire, but it doesn't work. He tries to escape through the window, but all the windows are locked. He starts breaking them and escapes through one, climbing down the fire escape. But the fire escape ladder won't go down to the ground. He jumps and lands on his feet, but slips on the pasta he threw earlier. The ladder falls on his head but stops at the last moment, so he thanks God. But before he can get up, the ladder suddenly drops and pierces his head, killing him. He becomes the first victim, and the news of Evan's death reaches Kim. So Kim goes to Clear and asks her how to escape death. But Clear has locked herself in a mental institution in a room secured from anything that could harm her to protect herself. Kim goes to see her and removes anything that could hurt her before entering. When they go in, Clear is scared and tells her not to come close. Kim tells her what happened and asks for her help, but Clear refuses and says if she leaves she'll die, so goodbye. Later, Nora and her son Tim go to the dentist because Tim has a dental problem. The dentist starts treating him, but something strange is happening. A pigeon is pecking at the window, which bothers the dentist a lot, so he doesn't give Tim an injection but instead gives him gas anesthesia. With this anesthesia, the patient is awake but can't move any part of his body. The dentist leaves everything and goes to check, but Tim's mouth is still open and a toy hanging above the bed falls into his mouth. He can't move to remove it, so he starts choking, but a nurse removes it and saves him at the last moment. He leaves, relieved. As they're leaving, Kim and the officer arrive because they're next in death's order. Kim had seen a dream involving pigeons, so she warns them from afar, telling them to watch out for the pigeons. There were many pigeons on the ground, so the foolish Tim runs to chase them away, but as he's running, he falls onto a glass pane, which literally crushes him. After what happened, Clear's conscience wakes up, and she leaves the institution to help them. She takes them to the mortician who appeared in the first part, and he explains death to them and that there's no escape. But finally he tells them they can break the cycle by having a new beginning or a new life. They leave the mortician not understanding his words but think that a pregnant woman who was with them after the accident could be the key. If they save this woman until she gives birth and a new life begins, they might stop death's cycle. So the officer starts searching for the pregnant woman, and the rest of the survivors gather at the officer's house. Nora, Tim's mother, who just lost her son, is there, as well as Kat, Eugene, who still doesn't believe what's happening, and another guy. Eugene still doesn't believe it, and Kat says, "I've just started my life. I don't want to die." Kim tries to convince them there's a solution, but Nora says, "If I die, I will rest in peace. I want to die." She leaves the place and Eugene tells her, "I'll come with you." So Nora and Eugene leave together and take the elevator. Our stoner friend, after they leave, sees a shadow of a hook on the ground. He imagines it's a sign for Nora's death, the one under the light. He calls her and her phone falls from her. She bends down to pick it up, but her hair gets caught in the hooks that the man set up. Nora is talking to the officer on the phone, but she can't hear clearly. As soon as she hears the word hook, she gets terrified and tries to move away from the man behind her, but her hair is pulled by the hook. She starts screaming and tries to pull herself away quickly, but she can't free herself. The elevator door opens, so she gets out, but her hair is still caught in the hook inside. The elevator moves up and starts to pull her head, and Eugene tries to help her from inside, but it's too late. Her head is separated from her body. Eugene, after seeing all this, literally collapses. He grabs the officer's gun and tries to kill himself. He shoots himself 6 times in the head, but there are no bullets at all. The officer is surprised and opens the gun to find it full of bullets. Claire comes in and tells him it wasn't his turn to die. Then the officer's friend calls and tells him, "We found the pregnant woman you were looking for. She's with me now." So they head out to reach her and help her give birth before she died. At the same time, at the police station, Isabella, who was 9 months pregnant, starts going into labor and asks the officer who brought her to take her to the hospital quickly. They also head to the hospital. But by coincidence, on the way, Isabella and the officer with her crash into our hero's car. Isabella asks the officer to continue to the hospital because she's about to give birth, and someone else can help those who were hit. He listens to her and leaves. After the accident, the woman who was driving was unconscious and couldn't move. Eugene is injured with a pipe, but the officer, Claire, and the stoner are okay. They get into the ambulance and head to the same hospital. On the way, the car almost hits a young boy from the farm where the accident happened, but the stoner saves him. A press car arrives and crashes into a rock on the ground, causing its gas tank to start leaking. At the same time, the firefighters bring a saw to get Kat out of the car. As soon as they start working with the saw, it hits Kat's face and pushes her head into a pipe in the seat, piercing her head and killing her. She was holding a cigarette in her hand, which falls onto the leaking gasoline, setting it on fire. The press car explodes, and the explosion blows off the iron fence, hitting the guy and cutting him into 3 pieces, leaving only Claire, Kim, and the officer, who get into a car and head to the hospital, hoping that no more accidents happen this time. On the way, Kim has a dream or vision, where a doctor is trying to revive someone's heart. She doesn't understand what it means but thinks the vision is about Isabella. They get to the hospital quickly. Claire goes to check on Eugene, and Officer Kim goes to Isabella, who thankfully gives birth. Eugene, who was cursed, has his life support machine stop working, and gas leaks into the room. While Kim, Claire, and the officer are celebrating outside because they think they stopped the curse, Kim has another vision and sees her hands covered in blood and a car sinking in the lake. At that moment, Kim remembers that Isabella didn't die in the car accident at the beginning of the film when she had her vision, and that Isabella isn't part of the death circle at all. That's why her baby's new life didn't stop the curse. Claire runs to Eugene's room to save him, but a spark ignites the leaking gas, causing an explosion that burns Eugene and Claire. Kim looks at her hands after the explosion and sees blood on them, realizing she is the one who needs to give a new life and stop the curse. She escapes from the hospital, gets in the car, and the officer tries to stop her, but she tells him, "I'm the one who is supposed to die." She throws herself into the lake, just like she saw in the vision, and most likely passes out. The door closes, but the officer pulls her out and takes her back to the hospital. They revive her, just like she saw in the vision, and her new life begins. In this way, she breaks the death curse, or the circle of death. Sometime later, the family from the farm where the car accident happened invites Kim and the officer to celebrate their survival. Their young son Brian, who was saved by the stoner from being hit by the car, is there. His mother tells Kim and the officer what happened, and Kim gets scared when she hears this. because Brian was supposed to be dead. Before she can say anything, Brian is preparing a barbecue for the gathering, but the grill explodes in his face, cutting off his hand, which lands on the table, and his mother screams in terror. So has the death curse really ended, or will we see it again in the next part? And with that, part 2 ends. Subscribe to the channel.